If you are buying your first espresso machine, there are a lot of options out there and a lot of decisions that you have to make. One of the first and most important being which type of espresso machine you want to buy. A fully manual, a semi-automatic, or a super automatic. So let's dive into the differences and hopefully find out which one is best for you. Today I want to introduce you to a coffee roaster that's doing some really interesting things. They're called Volcanica Coffee and they're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Volcanica Coffee is all about sourcing the best beans from volcanic regions around the world. They believe that the volcanic soils and minerals in these regions give the coffee a unique flavor profile that you just can't find anywhere else. What's really cool about Volcanica Coffee is that they make it easy for customers to shop by category, certification, or region. Whether you're looking for Jamaican Blue, a natural processed coffee, a low acid option, or light roast, they have something for everyone. But that's not all. Volcanica Coffee also has a charity element. They support Charity Water, an organization that provides clean drinking water to people in need around the world. And right now, HomeGrounds viewers can get free shipping on any orders over $60 by using the promo code HG12. That's a 12% discount just for you. Thank you so much to Volcanica Coffee for sponsoring today's video. Hello, my name is Stephen Holm and I'm with HomeGrounds, a place for you to go to learn more about brewing and enjoying better quality coffee right at home. Today we are talking about espresso machines and the three main types: fully manual, semi-automatic, and super automatic. So I'm going to be breaking down each one individually and then we'll bring them all together, talk about the biggest differences, and hopefully find out if one of these is going to be the best option for you. Okay, so first up we have a fully manual machine. This one in particular is the Flare Classic, but pretty much any machine out there that requires no electricity and you have to do all the work to make the espresso can be classified as a fully manual. So like I just mentioned, these don't require any electricity or anything. You just have to provide the hot water and then the ground coffee, and everything else you do by hand. Now the options can vary by how much work is required or additional steps that you need to take to brew espresso, but they have a few major things in common. First off, obviously it requires quite a bit of work, knowledge, and experience to make good espresso. Someone wouldn't just open this out of a box and immediately know how to use it. No, you have to read the manual, watch videos, find out how many grams of coffee to use and what grind size, and it's not very intuitive and you really have to put in the work. And not only that, but in order to get good espresso out, it's not as easy as just, oh, that one didn't taste good, let me just really quick make another one. It is not quick. You have to take everything apart, you have to clean it. Usually these things are very hot, so you have to find out how to get that cooled down and then heated back up. Another thing that they all will have in common is that you obviously need other equipment to make this work. Ideally, you will have a separate coffee grinder that can grind for espresso, and then you also need to provide hot water, and then ideally you also have a scale. So there's a lot of extra things that you need to get on top of just the espresso maker in order to make it work and get good coffee. Now the good thing that all of these have in common is that they are relatively cheap. So this one, for example, I believe is $120 US, but manual espresso makers will typically be on the lowest price point out of all the machines we're looking at today. Now, semi-automatic espresso machines. This one in particular is the Lelit Mara X, which I have full videos of all this stuff if you're interested in learning more about any of them. But semi-automatic machines are what you will typically find when you're looking for an espresso machine for home. They have a fully encapsulated boiler, so you're heating up water in there. You have pumps producing pressure, and then we have a portafilter that you add coffee to. You usually have a steam wand, so you can steam milk. On this one in particular, we have a hot water dispenser, which is a common feature. So a lot more features on these machines than you would get with a fully manual one. Now, however, you do still need to provide some work in order to get good espresso. So we have this portafilter here, and you need to add finely ground coffee into here and insert it here, and then you can start brewing your shot and manually stop it whenever it is done. So it does require some work, and usually experience. Some machines will make it a lot easier to make espresso, whereas some you really need to do a lot of extra steps in order to get a great cup of coffee. But all in all, these machines will provide more aids to get better espresso. Now, as far as pricing goes for semi-automatic machines, it can vary quite a bit. We can get a machine as cheap as $100, maybe even cheaper than that, that will have a portafilter that you can put coffee in and brew somewhat espresso. Or we can get up to $10,000 for a home espresso machine, and a lot of things will vary between those. Some of the big ones being just overall build quality and expensive components. You can spend a lot of money on an espresso machine like this. So now, super automatic espresso machines. These machines are called super automatics because they automatically give you a shot of espresso. So all we need to do is press a button and it dispenses your espresso. There is no extra work involved. Typically, they will have a grinder built in, so you just need to add whole bean coffee, ideally from Volcanica Coffee if you have it, and then the machine will grind it for you. It'll do all of the preparation as far as the espresso, and then it'll dispense a delicious coffee. So this takes all of the manual work and necessary research and experience out of making espresso. It makes it really easy for pretty much anyone that has the ability to go in and press a button. And a lot of machines out there now, you're able to dial in certain parameters, so you can go in and change how much coffee is being used or how much water or the temperature or things similar to that. Now, as far as pricing goes, these will typically start higher than any of the other options. So they'll start in the mid hundreds, say around $400 to $500 for a decent beginner machine, and then just go up like crazy from there. So now that I've gone over each one individually, let's talk about 3 of the key differences that were brought up when talking about each one. The first one being the work required to make an espresso. This is kind of what each one is named for, you know? So that's gonna be the biggest difference between these machines. And really, that's gonna be one of the biggest things that you have to consider if you're looking at an espresso machine. How much work do you wanna put into it? Another big difference to consider is gonna be the coffee quality that is coming out of these machines. Now, we can look at that right alongside of the price points. Obviously, we're kind of going up in price as we move along here, but the coffee quality isn't exactly linear with this, because a machine like this, a fully manual machine, can get a really, really good espresso that maybe you couldn't get out of a super automatic, and for a fraction of a price. But in order to get that, it requires a lot of work, a lot of experience, a lot of steps, versus just pressing a single button in a super automatic and getting a mediocre shot. So I think to sort of round everything up that I've talked about, I'm going to provide 3 different types of people, and hopefully you somewhat fall into one of these categories and can help you decide which machine you want to get. The first category are people that don't really want to put in any work. Maybe they don't care about the preparation and the what some may call the art form of making espresso. If you don't care about any of that, and that is totally okay, if you just want good espresso at home but not put in the work, then a super automatic machine is probably going to be for you as long as it fits your budget. These machines are going to be able to make typically a pretty good espresso depending on how much money you spend, and they can do milk steaming, they can dispense hot water, can make a delicious latte anytime you want at home, and it does a pretty good job at it. Now let's move on to the second type of person, and that is someone who has a similar budget but maybe wants to know how to put in the work or make espresso the best possible they can, and they have a little bit more money to work with and typically want to steam milk occasionally, because that's one thing that manual espresso makers can't do. There's no way to steam milk on here. So if you want to steam milk at home, you want to get into sort of the art form of pulling espresso and all the steps involved in the process, then a semi-automatic machine is probably for you. Now, the third type of person that would look at a manual espresso machine is someone who wants to only get a really good shot of espresso, doesn't mind putting in a ton of work for it, and maybe also doesn't want to spend a whole lot of money. I would say that a fully manual espresso maker is going to give you the highest sort of ratio of quality to price out of any of these options by far. You can spend Not very much money on an espresso maker that you have to put a lot of work in, but get a really good cup of coffee. So those are the 3 main types of espresso machines. Hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any additional questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy brewing.